Your Excellency, President Uhuru Kenyatta, Habari Zenu. So this is a very special day for me, Mr. President. It's a very special day for the Global Center on Adaptation, and quite frankly, it's a very special day for the Africa Adaptation Acceleration Program, AAAP. It is, as you know, Mr. President, it is the most ambitious climate adaptation program for Africa. It's designed in Africa, it's owned by Africa, and from today, we will have a global champion in you, sir, worthy of its ambition and stature. And I'm really certain that I'm not the only one, Mr. President, today in this hall, in the global community, to want to thank you wholeheartedly for being here today. So on behalf of everyone here, on behalf of everyone online, on behalf of all the global leaders who will come after me, we would like to show our appreciation for you, Mr. President, as we celebrate this defining moment in the battle that lies ahead of us. As you said before, sir, this is the battle of our lives, to contain climate change, to adapt to it, and by doing so, to tame it. And in you, President Kenyatta, Your Excellency, we have a champion lion tamer indeed. Mr. President, we know your strong records, but let me just outline a couple of highlights from your legacy as president here during your 2 terms. Your strong record on standing up for Africans on climate change is well known. And quite frankly, maybe not known to this audience, it's globally unmatched. It's globally unmatched what you have delivered in the last years here. So President Kenyatta, you pioneered Kenya's commitment to land degradation neutrality. You ratified the Paris Agreement in record time. You made Kenya one of the first countries globally, not just in Africa, globally, to announce and submit very ambitious NDC targets. And there's much more in fact. President Kenyatta, you, sir, you have passed a raft of policies, from the Climate Change Act to the National Climate Adaptation Plans, as well as adaptation and green economy plans, to name just a few. I have my speech here. It goes on and on and on what you have achieved, sir. President Kenyatta, your leadership on climate resilient agriculture and green infrastructure projects, you have delivered green jobs for Kenyans. You have delivered increased access to markets. You, sir, you have delivered strengthened the resilience of Kenya's people, of your people, and we all should be extremely proud and humble for that. This is why I'm, Mr. President, I'm not only optimistic, but I'm also more determined than ever about the path ahead of us. Because I know that with the AAAP, we have a roadmap that delivers, and with you, sir, we have finally found a global champion to drive this agenda, not just for Africa, but for the world. I'm therefore, Mr. President, yes, I'm optimistic, but that doesn't mean I'm complacent, that doesn't mean I'm naive about the challenges that lie before us. We spoke about it before. The war in Ukraine has created a global food, fuel, and fiscal crisis that will have deep and far-reaching consequences for Africa's people and economies for many years to come. So we all know the storm clouds, they're gathering. Africa will continue to suffer disproportionately in the world because of the climate crisis if we don't act. And a crisis, as you said, Mr. President, a crisis which you did not cause. So let us not forget, Africa is still recovering from the economic consequences of the COVID crisis. And if COVID taught us anything, it is that nobody is safe until we're all safe. And this same truth also applies with the same certainty to our changing climate and the need to adapt to it. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month or next year, today. And as President Kenyatta, as you has taught us, in fact, as you, sir, as you taught the world, investing in climate adaptation, as you have done, is not only the moral right thing to do, it is the economic smartest thing to do, because every dollar, every pound, every euro, every Kenyan shilling invested in climate adaptation has a much higher return on investment. It's simply smart economics. So this is not the time to neglect the climate emergency. Of course, there is a mountain to climb. And Mr. President, now that brings me to a journey I made with my colleagues, with your staff, to a county which I didn't know before, Makueni County, this week, and to a song that was sung to me. It was with the Akamba people. And sir, I will not torture you by trying to speak their beautiful language, but the essence of what they sung to me, as I understand it, is you climb a mountain, and you find good things on top of it. I also learned that Makueni means big, bold, mighty. And big, bold, mighty is exactly the spirit and the ambition that Africa needs, and that the AAAP delivers. Mr. President, upon your invitation, I also visited Samburu this week, where the community is investing today in its resilience with support from the African Development Bank. We have colleagues here from the African Development Bank, so thank you very much indeed. By building water pans, boreholes, that not only reduce the need to seek pasture far from home, but also create, again, economic opportunities to grow crops, diversify incomes, and build resilience for forests during the hard times caused by failing rains. So, Mr. President, I ask myself, what do these two communities far away from the Netherlands where I'm from, what do they have in common? First, of course, is their spirit and their willingness to innovate, to ensure that they will continue to thrive. Mr. President, they are the living proof of what we can achieve. So thank you, people of Makueni, and thank you, people of Samburu, for being such a source of inspiration, not just for this country, not just for Africa, but in fact, for the world as a whole. But secondly, sir, with the right support, these solutions can, and quite frankly, they will be scaled up across Africa. And this is exactly where the AAAP comes in. Because you, sir, you know, in Kenya and the broader Horn of Africa, GCA, we're working with the African Development Bank, with my big brother and our good friend, President Adesina, and of course, other development partners, to scale up adaptation solutions for food security by bringing innovative digital solutions, as well as drought-tolerant crops. Again, to build up and to work on existing practices, but again, to bring them to scale. We have seen in Makueni and Samburu what can be done, but all these communities has one message. This borehole, this water pan, this pasture farmer can only address so many community members. That needs to be replicated by 10, by 100, by 1,000. That notion of scale and speed, that's what the AAAP needs to deliver indeed. So over the last year, Mr. President, as you know, and as others will know today, we as GCA, we have already mainstreamed adaptation solutions throughout the African continent into $3 billion worth of investments on the ground. With our partners and under your leadership, Mr. President, AAAP will mobilize $25 billion for adaptation in Africa over the next 5 years. And Mr. President, as the Honorable Vice Chancellor also indicated, I'm very humbled to announce today that AAAP is expanding its focus here in Kenya. Today, GCA is launching a strategic AAAP partnership with the best and the brightest which your country has to offer, with the best and the brightest this continent has to offer through the University of Nairobi. We will support 140 million Kenyan shillings. I deliberately used Kenyan shillings because it sounds more than 1.2 million euros indeed. So through this partnership, GCA and the university will shape investments to climate-proof Kenya's infrastructure, to shape and unlock climate finance at scale, and to create the green jobs for Kenya's youth. So Madam Chancellor, Mr. Vice Chancellor, thank you for your leadership and for your bringing in your faculty, because you have already demonstrated in building this African Center of Excellence and in supporting Kenya's and Africa's climate ambitions. I thank you dearly. So for the students here, today and outside, I want to be extremely explicit. I invite you not to lean backward, to lean forward and take advantage of this opportunity to engage in the adaptation agenda for Africa. You are the future of the adaptation challenge, and we look to you to develop innovative solutions for a resilient continent, because I will be back on this stage, hopefully together with you, Mr. President, later this year with the Chancellor, with the Vice Chancellor, to announce the winners of Disruptive Technologies Entrepreneurship Challenge here in Kenya, where GCA and the university will award 15 million shillings each to scale up the most innovative solutions for climate-resilient infrastructure here in Kenya. So you students, you should come forward with concrete, bold ideas for this particular challenge. Mr. President, I believe we are on the cusp of a very exciting journey to a more resilient continent. I want to thank you, Mr. President, because by accepting the challenge to be our global champion, you are giving a voice to the voiceless indeed. Not just here in Kenya, but across Africa. And not just Africa, but across the world. The vulnerable communities who are crying out for action. So, sir, if I may, let us move forward in the spirit of Makueni. Let our ambitions be big. Let our actions be bold. And let our impact under your leadership, sir, be mighty, so we can all prosper and thrive. I thank you.